It's Locked On NFL Thursday. Tyler Rowland is out. My Locked On Cardinals co-host Bo Brack is in. Apologies ahead of time. We're going to hit a lot of fun stuff today. What if Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes switch teams? Which team would you trust more to win one game on a neutral field? And we'll preview the AFC and NFC Championship games. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack on this special edition of Locked On NFL Thursday. Giddy up!
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Locked On NFL Thursday. Special guest Bo Brack. Tyler Rowland is out. Feeling a little bit under the weather. Get better soon, Ty, and we'll see you next week. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. You can check us both out on Locked On Cardinals. Shameless plug, Monday through Friday at Locked On AZ Cards on Twitter. Find us on YouTube. Okay. This is going to be a fun show. So Thursdays during the season, we normally have the the built-in content of a Thursday night football game. We're a couple weeks removed from that, unfortunately. But what we witnessed last weekend, and I don't think the statute of limitations is up on talking about this, the masterful performance by both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the divisional round of the playoffs that ended up with one of the most iconic finishes in NFL history, 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes. It just made my mind start to roll, Bo Brack. If Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes swapped teams, who would you take on a neutral field? We're going to hit that first. We're going to hit the AFC Championship game second segment, and then we're going to round it out with an NFC West gross, just flashback to bad times for Bo and myself as we cover the Cardinals. But we're going to hit it for you, Locked On NFL fans. Locked On NFL Thursday in the third segment. Thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen every day, free and available on all platforms. You know how I feel about paywalls. Ain't no paywalls here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Bo Brack, Josh Allen, that behemoth redwood tree of a quarterback that the Bills have, and Patrick Mahomes, the wizard of Waverly whatever, what we see in Kansas City. They changed jerseys. Which team do you take on a neutral field?
The team that has the ball last, as we saw on Sunday. I mean, they're both unstoppable forces, right? But if I'm pressed on it, I'm taking the team that Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for. I think nobody outside of Western New York or who has an affinity for putting people through folding tables are going to choose Josh Allen. And that's, I don't think that's unfair to Josh Allen. He's had his rise has been incredible, but his raw skill set was even more raw than Patrick Mahomes, who was a raw prospect coming out of Texas Tech. I take Patrick Mahomes 100 times out of 100. There's not anybody else on this planet, even Tom Brady with all those Super Bowl championships right now, over Patrick Mahomes. And I think he elevates every team that he's on. Even if he's in Jacksonville, Alex, I think that he can make them a fringe playoff team. He's that good.
And just like my daily flippin' life on Locked On Cardinals, I'm going to disagree with my co-host. The reason why I take Josh Allen in this situation, because you're right, the majority of the time, it's Patrick Mahomes second to none. But with Andy Reid, with those weapons, where they actually run the ball as part of their offense, I feel like that is something. Imagine the run schemes for Josh Allen inside the 10-yard line with the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid. Like, that's something that nightmares are made of. And yeah, the defenses, I don't think they need to show up. You can just do offense versus offense, whoever score as many points. Like, again, 99 times out of 100, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. The one time is in this random on-the-moon scenario where they'd swap teams. It's just the weapons that Patrick Mahomes has just inch out Buffalo because of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They're more top-heavy, but man, oh man, I could not imagine Josh Allen with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
It's terrifying.
And their bevy
now.
Of running backs.
It's terrifying now, but I don't know if you could have said the same thing. Well, definitely not 2 years ago. Maybe starting last season where he elevated his game. He threw for 37 touchdowns. But Yeah, he does have that little wrinkle. You know that Patrick Mahomes can get out and use his athleticism and speed, but not like Josh Allen. You're right. But I think that Patrick Mahomes just has, as far as just his pure NFL acumen, ability, I think he just elevates everybody out there. But it is going to be interesting to see how it goes against the test of time, like Brady did so many times, had to kind of reinvent himself with his team without his primary playmakers. We haven't seen that from Patrick Mahomes. It would be interesting to see how he looks thrown to Stephon Diggs. That's scary to think about. Instead of Travis Kelce, you have Dawson Knox. You don't have a run game there. You're working with Brian Dable, not Andy Reid, somebody who drafted and developed you. It would be interesting, but Patrick Mahomes, I can tell you one thing everybody can agree with. You put Patrick Mahomes in Buffalo, everybody would love to see his brother Jackson Mahomes get put through a table. No doubt about it. Everybody will sign up for that.
Instead of the national anthem, that's what happens before games. And you just do different tables every time, different depth, different. Is it wood? Is it one of those plastic things that they jump through? Sweet mother, that'd be a sight. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on NFL. Bo filling in for Tyler Rowland, who's a little bit under the weather. AFC Championship preview next. It is going to be a wild weekend on Sunday. Let's see if it can trump what happened last weekend. It's going to be very difficult to do, but with the upstart Cincinnati Bengals, who don't seem to be scared of anybody, going into Arrowhead to see if Cool Joe will be smoking a cigar, taking out the former AFC champion. We'll talk about that next. First, Get Upside. If you haven't downloaded the Get Upside app, you're missing out. Like if you don't listen to Locked On Cardinals. This is Alex Clancy for Locked On NFL. Download the Get Upside app and you save money every time you're at the pump filling up gas. Our listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store, Google Play. Right now, use promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more off on your first fill up. Again, download the Get Upside app. Apple Store, Google Play. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents or more off on your first tank. People are saving a couple $100 a year doing this. And it gets transferred right into your account. You do bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, whatever. Download the free Get Upside app. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Get Upside app. All right, second segment. Thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen every day, free and available on all platforms. Bo Brack filling in for Tyler Rowland. I am Alex Clancy. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. I could have a full-on hour debate, Josh Allen on the Chiefs versus Patrick Mahomes on the Bills, like the Raging Cajun in Old School. Just like Will Ferrell versus the Raging Cajun. I don't know what happened. I just blacked out. I would 100% do that. But we got to move on to things that are actually going to happen. The Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase et al. Traveling to Kansas City to play Patrick Mahomes after the must have been emotionally exhausting experience they had against the Bills last week. Percentage chance that the Cincinnati Bengals win this game. Let's start with that.
They've done it before. I'll give them a 40% chance. I'm not going to say it's 50-50 because we haven't seen the best from their offense the entire postseason, and that should be encouraging, right? I mean, they didn't have a great performance and when they squeaked out a win in the divisional round, and they looked okay in the first half against Las Vegas in the wild card round. You can never count out Joe Burrow and Joe Burr, but I'm still going to give the edge to Kansas City. The biggest key is going to be the health of Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, as far as what Jamar Chase can do and how he can take the top off of any defense, Tyrann Mathieu, who's in the protocol, he didn't practice on Wednesday, and it's going to come down to is he going to be healthy? Otherwise, we could be in line for another shootout.
Yeah, and you know what? The worst possible thing for the Chiefs happened last week because all they've done is watch that tape. They've played the Chiefs. They've experienced already this year. What they watched over and over and over again was like the fourth quarter of that game where it's like, you know what? Once Tyrann Mathieu's out, as you mentioned, the exposed nature of that secondary makes them look like a bottom dweller, a cellar dweller when it comes to defense, which more times than not, the Chiefs aren't. I mean, their defense is pretty good, especially, their front seven is their calling card with Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram. But 40% is about spot on because you give Patrick Mahomes 20% off the top. So it's just, and I don't even know if that math works, but it's you give Patrick Mahomes grading on a curve 10% off the top. That's right. So that still makes it work. I would love to see if Joe Burrow can continue to do it, because this isn't a fad. We've seen this already. We've seen this so many times this year. Big games that he's won, he's unflappable, it seems. And it's the weirdest thing to experience a second-year quarterback. He's a little bit older because he transferred 38 times in college, but that team trusts him implicitly. And it even took Josh Allen a few years because he was a turnover machine early on. Patrick Mahomes trusted it immediately just because, he's an exception to the rule. Lamar Jackson took a couple years for the Ravens to really implicitly trust him. Joe Burrow's got it. He's got the key to Cincinnati already. And the fact that they drafted Jamar Chase, I know that the numbers are eye-popping, but getting sacked 9 times after coming off an ACL tear for your quarterback isn't ideal. So you'd think this offseason they're going to do what the Chiefs did last year, overhaul that offensive line, draft offensive linemen in the draft. But for now, Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram are going to make Joe Burrow's life a living hell.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the defense is going to look like, because I feel like you just punt on the secondary. They should be able to eat in the backfield if the offensive line performs the way it did last week.
Yeah, I mean, you could have an equalizer there depending on how, if you get Joe Mixon going. I think if you can get Joe Mixon going and take away some of that pass rush from Kansas City, and maybe control the time of possession, that if the game's close down the stretch, that you've got a very confident kicker in Evan McPherson. He's probably going to say some headline grabbing thing on the sideline about how you're going to the Super Bowl. And then you've got it at quarterback too, which is the most important position in Joe Burrow. He doesn't care that he's been sacked a dozen times. He's going to go out there and make the throws necessary. At least he's shown in his early career that if it's close and he's got the ball late, he's got the ability to make all the throws necessary. And his weapons go. I mean, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, that's great. But Cincinnati, I mean, they had 4 guys go over the 1,000 yard mark. 3 receivers. Did Tyler Boyd reach it? I apologize. I don't know if he did. I don't think he did, but nearly had 4 guys. Joe Mixon hit it on the ground. Just an incredible year from that quartet. And man, I don't think you would do yourself a service if you count the Bengals out, because they've just been answer all the doubters all season long.
Yeah, I feel like this is a big T. Higgins game. I feel like it's a big T. Higgins game. I mean, he can put up yards in a hurry. And it's interesting is we're going to move on here quickly to the NFC in just a minute, but Jamar Chase is the definition of, if you're going to draft a receiver with the offensive line looking like that, you better put up these numbers and do this. And he's done that. So it's a wash. Like, it shouldn't be a wash because the offensive line is so important. But when he gets time, Jamar Chase is a chunk. And we're not talking 25 yards at a time here. We're talking 40, 50, 60, 70 yards down the field with regularity. That completely placates the crowd that said they should have, including me, that said they should have drafted Rashawn Slater or Penny Sewell with their draft pick. But, and again, as covering the Cardinals, it's like, I wonder what CeeDee Lamb would have looked like instead of Isaiah Simmons. Kyler Murray's number 1 receiver. Not necessarily fair because they didn't break records in college like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow did, but close to the same.
If Kansas City can kind of do what happened last week and confuse Joe Burrow, and this rarely happens, confuse him pre-snap, so he can't be quick in his decision making with what he wants to do with the ball, that could be problematic for Cincinnati. If they can do that throughout the game, and then obviously lean on that offense, that if it's going to come down to Cincinnati playing well on the defensive side of the football, how can you contain that offense that is fired up and has come through each and every week? I mean, remember they were trailing Pittsburgh at one point, and then they decided to just rip off 6 consecutive scores. I mean, now that Buffalo's out of the playoffs, it's the hottest offense remaining, and that's Kansas City. So it's going to be a big Herculean effort from Cincinnati to slow down Patrick Mahomes and crew.
For sure. And I mean, you look at it, and we're going to pivot after this. Like, this should be a big Joe Mixon game. Also, the best defense against Patrick Mahomes is long, sustained drives, which is something that the Bengals are capable of doing, but they're big chunk hitters, just like the Chiefs are. It's going to be super interesting. Coming up next, NFC Championship game. Bo and I both want to throw up because we have to talk about it, but we have to talk about it. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Bo Brack in for Tyler Rowland on Locked On NFL Thursday. First, betonline.ag, the game we just spoke about, according to betonline.ag. I don't know if you know this number, Bo. What do you think the number is? Chiefs, Bengals, the line.
Say 5.5.
The Chiefs are laying 7. That's a lot of points, man.
Right.
But betonline.ag, regardless if you believe that line to be true or not, too many points, you can bet on it. You go to betonline.ag. They'd like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue to march through the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. Here's what you need to do. Go to the website or use your mobile device to sign up. Receive a 50% bonus on your first deposit using promo code Locked On. Go to the website or use your mobile device. Receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit using promo code Locked On. Do that today. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, favorite Vegas casino games, whatever. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. Ugh, gross. Can we just let this roll for 10 minutes and stop and say that we talked about this? Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on NFL. Sorry, Bo filling in for Tyler Rowland. Tyler of Locked On Titans. Follow him at Tic Tac Titans. Follow Bo at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. We do Locked On Cardinals 5 days a week. If you're a fan of the Cardinals, you can check us out on YouTube or at Locked On AZ Cards on Twitter. Shameless plug. So we just covered the AFC Championship game. The NFC Championship game is going to be interesting for so many different reasons. Like the sexiness is going to be in the morning. Okay. The night game or the afternoon. The night game is going to be more of they've played twice. They know each other really well. 49ers going to SoFi Stadium. I'm assuming that the 49ers are going to pack about 40% of that stadium because in LA, there's so many more things to do than watch football. It's insane. And it's very apparent in that brand new spanking stadium at SoFi Stadium. But both of these teams are on different trajectories for the future. The Rams truly are this year, next year, and then that's going to be about it because the salary cap is real. And the 49ers are really, they're paving their way to be relevant in perpetuity with their young players and, Jimmy Garoppolo. What's your biggest, let's take the Cardinals hat off here.
Okay.
What are you excited about seeing in this matchup on either side?
If San Francisco can continue their incredible run, not only this season, but against Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, like the old cliche, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row is LA saying, well, it's tough to beat a team 7 times in a row. Because that's what it is. I mean, the Niners are Sean McVay and the LA Rams kryptonite right now. They can't beat the Niners for whatever reason. We see it on the Cardinals and how Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray can't beat Sean McVay. Well, on the other side of that, Kyle Shanahan dominates Sean McVay in the Rams recently. 0-2 this season they are, and they did a really good job in making Matthew Stafford look pedestrian throwing the football. He turned the ball over against them. He's been great in the postseason, but it's going to be a familiar foe that he's seen and has taken care of business against him twice this year. He lit it up against them in the season finale, Alex. Remember watching that? We thought that the Niners were going to be done and not see the playoffs because they were down 17-0, and Matthew Stafford was having his best performance in the second half of the season, and then that all went away. It's going to come down to Matthew Stafford protecting the football like he's done so far through 2 games in the postseason. And as far as Sean McVay not getting away from the running game late because he made that mistake at the end of the season and it cost them seeding and, beating one of their rivals.
Oh, just right in the heart too with the Cardinals also. It's just everywhere. It can't be removed. I want to see Jimmy do it again. You know what? I'm team Jimmy Garoppolo now. And you know why? Because all he does is win. And the whole thing, we talked about this on our show actually yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo gets no credit and Matthew Stafford gets all the credit. And all Jimmy Garoppolo does is win big games. That's all he does. Mm-hmm. And it's not on him. If you're looking for a game manager with a model face, that's Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the weirdest thing where I think because he's so dashing, people just automatically say you're not a good quarterback because of all these, because you know what? All my friends think you suck. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to jump on that. When he was hurt a lot more the last couple of years, when he's healthy and he plays, they win football games. And I know that the blocked punt that was a catch and waltz into the end zone helped against Green Bay, but we can add the old adage that a win-loss is not a quarterback stat. And with Deebo Samuel, he's hobbled. That's going to be something to monitor. Obviously, we're doing this a couple days before the actual game. But I mean, him being questionable, him being able to walk off the field in Green Bay when it looked like there was something really severe that happened initially, like that's a big deal. And they have 38 running backs. They have George Kittle. They have Brandon Ayuk. And they've got a good defense. And they've got Kyle Shanahan. Like, I trust Jimmy Garoppolo to win a game more than Matthew Stafford when the heights are this high.
Wow. I can't agree with that.
But let me give one qualifier.
Okay.
The rest of the team is going to do more for the 49ers for that to happen. Like Matthew Stafford single-handedly can win a game. Jimmy Garoppolo can't. But mitigating disaster is something I trust Jimmy Garoppolo to do more than Matthew Stafford.
I don't agree with that, but both of them have the unreal ability to lose a game for their teams. You're right. And if it weren't, it's funny saying this because Matthew Stafford played so poorly down the stretch for this team that if it weren't for Matthew Stafford last week against the Bucks, they probably lose that game. Like everybody else was turning over the football.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the first time, it was not Matthew Stafford problem. And like he showed, especially on that last drive, Cooper Kupp is a big issue as well. 22 or 20 yards,
he's good.
44 yards, He puts them for 60 plus yards of yardage, puts them right in field goal range. And they're going to the conference championship game, man. I think that Jimmy G has the arsenal to make most of the throws where Matthew Stafford can make all the throws necessary. Yeah. We know that Jimmy, he lacks one throw. He's got one throw that he can't make. We've seen it. It's been on full display. Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. So, but Jimmy, he made enough throws, obviously down the stretch for San Francisco because he knows who his guy is now. He didn't know back then. Like Deebo Samuel was just an up and comer, and Emmanuel Sanders is a good receiver, but he doesn't have to throw it over the top of a defense. He can just get the ball in the hands, whether it's handing the ball off to Deebo or whether it's throwing it to him in space, and then Deebo's making plays. I mean, that's just how it goes for them. And obviously George Kittle, sometimes he gets a little too target heavy with Kittle and sometimes makes mistakes with the ball. But Deebo's the guy, and I think Jimmy knows that, and he'll just ride him to potentially the Super Bowl. But you have a tough time picking the Niners to win this game despite all their success against LA?
It just seems like there's something off. Like what we saw last week, that carries weight. And I know it was thrilling how they won. Cam Akers, you going to bench him? Like, are you going to put Sony Michel in there? Like, this is not a time to be cute. This is not a time to be like, man, I feel like I'm talking to the damn head coach of the Cardinals right now. Like, Sony Michel has had fumble doodles issues, but he's been he's been ironclad since they traded for him. He's been one of their greatest pickups because Darrell Henderson's been on the shelf for so long. Like, for me, I think the 49ers can win this game because this is going to be a 10 or 12 target day for George Kittle. Like when they need things, the dude catches everything. He's got a catch radius of Manute Bol. His floor for things to go wrong less is higher than Deebo Samuel, in my opinion. And I know that Jimmy Garoppolo forces the issue sometimes, but if you're going to scheme for Deebo Samuel defensively or George Kittle, you have to scheme for Deebo Samuel because a tight end can only, you can keep a tight end in front of you. Deebo Samuel is going to eat your lunch, then burn right by you. So I just see the safer option for who could be the star of the game for San Francisco. I think George Kittle is going to be the one because he's Old Faithful. Yeah. We still haven't seen Deebo Samuel. He was kind of held at bay against Green Bay, even, because it was cold and it was on the road. But I'm super curious. So we've done both.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, Kansas City, and I've got a good. I've got a feeling that McVay is going to figure it out against his daddy. He's going to beat. It's going to beat. I mean, it would have been fun to see Kyle Shanahan face his dad, Mike Shanahan, but he's facing his son and Sean McVay on Sunday, and I think that I do think McVay finally beats him in the driveway at Hoops, and they advance to the Super Bowl. I'll take, and I think it's going to be a big Aaron Donald day. I think AD. He can mess up a lot of what they. I mean, against the Rams, it's not gonna be you're gonna win not scoring an offensive touchdown again. It's just not gonna happen. So, but are they gonna be able to keep their foot on the gas, unlike they were able to do in the regular season finale? I think that McVay, I'm 45. My teams are 45-0 going into halftime, or 45-0 when leading at halftime. Now 45-1 after losing to the Niners. I think that he's learned a lesson from that loss. So he's doing a lot better as far as his game management at the end in the second half, despite almost relinquishing that one last week.
So let's do a math equation here before we get out of here. I know how much you love math.
Mm-hmm.
49ers come back in week 18.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the Rams almost collapsing up 27-3 divided by the 49ers beating the Packers equals the 49ers winning. The momentum for those three games all favor the 49ers. And momentum doesn't really matter in the regular season unless it's down the stretch. It matters in the playoffs. We saw how the sausage was made against the Rams when they let their foot off the gas. And Tom Brady played terribly yet. He had no time early on. And then, you can't take a half off and win a football game in the NFL. Yeah. I think there are more unknown, like depth-wise, playmaker-wise, the 49ers got him covered, even though the Rams are more top-heavy, obviously. With the number one receiver in the league, Odell Beckham is really proven to be a wide receiver 1A, and I know it's like, I don't know, it's like Dustin Pedroia hitting after Manny Ramirez or something. Like, you're going to get more looks, obviously, when Cooper Kupp has a safety spying on him all game, but they've been utilizing him correctly. I just think with the bevy of running backs that the 49ers have, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, crazier things have happened, and I think that the 49ers are going to take care of business. It's going to be ugly, but they're going to win. And, I mean, picking the Bengals wouldn't be insane, but I'm not picking the Bengals.
I mean, if the Bengals go to the Super Bowl, it has to be the Niners. Isn't that just who they play in the Super Bowl throughout history?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a good point, when they just got lambasted. Because here's the thing. The AFC needs a villain again, and the Chiefs are a year away from being the villain because they lost the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
I'm ready for another. It's them and everybody else. I want a Brady Manning thing, and I think we see that with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I want Patrick Mahomes to win 7 Super Bowls. Like, experiencing greatness is something we don't see very often. The fact that they traded up for him and drafted him 10th overall, Andy Reid. Like, Andy Reid we have the opportunities are endless with that roster because he's a guy you want to play with. He's personable. He's young. Tom Brady is more Tiger Woods than Steph Curry, So Patrick Mahomes is the perfect mix of both. So I just want the Chiefs to win 8 Super Bowls. I don't care. Like, I want to see.
You just want to witness greatness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if Brady wasn't enough for you, because your boy got eliminated over the weekend, and I was catching
his
flack on Twitter for your takes.
was piss poor with 45 seconds left, whatever it was, when Tommy Boy, it doesn't matter. Alex Clancy Bo Brack, follow him at Bo Brack, follow me at Clancy's Corner. Tyler Rowland will hopefully be back and healthy next week. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Thursday your first listen. Now, please make Locked On Bets your second listen, because it's your boy Q. It's Lee Sterling. It's everything you need to know about putting your cheese on games this upcoming weekend. Alex Clancy Bo Brack, Locked On NFL Thursday. We'll talk to you next week.